Assalamu alaikum and welcome to In Conversation. I'm your host, Patel. Today we're joined by a woman whose courage and resilience have thrust her into the spotlight of one of the most urgent human rights crises in the UK right now. Shahmina Alam is a British pharmacist and an activist. She's relentlessly advocating for her brother, Kamran Ahmed, and 6 others who've been imprisoned on remand for over a year without trial. All are now on hunger strike, protesting against their conditions and the UK's ban on the pro-Palestinians. Controversially, the group which has been proscribed called Palestine Action. Kamran is just 28 years old. He's been on hunger strike for 29 days at the time of this recording, and he was sadly hospitalised last month after his blood turned acidic and his heart began failing rhythms. Ahmed was arrested in November 2024 and has since been held in custody at London's Pentonville prison pending trial. He's due to stand trial next year, facing charges of criminal damage, aggravated burglary and violent disorder. Allegations of being connected to the Filton action, which saw over £1 million worth of damage caused to Elbit's Research Centre for Israeli Weapons, make him one of the Filton 24. But Shahmina's fight isn't just for her brother, it's a demand for justice, transparency, and above all, dignity for all these hunger strikers whose act of desperation has drawn comparisons to the IRA's 1981 hunger strikes. With no response from the government, these prisoners are starving themselves towards a breaking point, or even worse. Shahmina's viral confrontations with officials, her searing interviews, and her sleepless nights mirror the agony of all the families who feel their loved ones are being erased by bureaucracy. Today, we'll hear her story, the grim reality inside UK's prisons, and why she believes silence now could have fatal consequences. Before we speak to Shahmina, I would like to read out the names and the days at the time of this recording that these individuals have been on hunger strike. Qasser Zuhra, 37 days. Amu Gib, 37 days. Heba Muraisi, 36 days. John Sink, 33 days. Chucha Hoza, 30 days. Louis Chiaramello, 15 days. And Muhammad Omar Khalid, 5 days. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the show, Shahmina. It's reading this is quite moving, and I've covered many stories over the last 24 months plus, and certainly when it comes to action or activists taking proactive steps on trying to get justice for Palestinians, this is quite a unique story. I mean, many people would have been following it. The action that have been taken by those against Elbit systems up and down the country, let's not forget. And yet here we are now in a situation where there are hunger strikers, and there doesn't seem to be much news about this. Perhaps on social media, but certainly on the mainstream media, it seems to have been hidden away. More recently, there was a confrontation with David Lammy. Tell us a bit about
that. Well, I feel like the mainstream media is sort of blocking out the story of the hunger strikers because they're related to the actions taken, direct action for Palestine. And I think we saw that through the lack of involvement from the MOJ and lack of response from David Lammy and Shabana Mahmood. They had been told 2 weeks prior to the start date of the ongoing hunger strike, which was the 2nd of November, and there was no response. And David Lammy, he is the State of Justice. He's the Secretary of State of Justice.
Yes.
It's his responsibility to look over these prisons and the prisoners and keep their welfare, and he hasn't responded. So when we heard that he was going to be turning on Christmas lights, when maybe he should have been looking at what's happening to the prisoners, we thought it would be good to confront him and actually give him the letter in person. I think what transpired then really shocked me because he said he wasn't aware.
Yes,
and
he did, yes.
I think we have to think of that in 2 factors, right? Either he is lying and he was aware and he's just chosen in that moment not to respond, or his office are hiding things from him, because I don't understand how you can be the Secretary of Justice and not be aware that prisoners up and across the country are on hunger strike. especially when you've been pre-warned with written letters. I think some stuff that didn't get captured in the videos, there was a moment where he said, "I'm just here to turn on lights."
Yes.
And it was just briefly before I told him that my brother and 2 others had been hospitalized. I just thought it was outrageous how he thought about the lights. And I'm telling you that they're being hospitalized. And then the shock that it was in the UK. But it can't be shocking if people are on hunger strike for nearly a month that they're getting hospitalized at this point.
Yes. And in terms of your brother's treatment, Kamran, it seems to be something that has been quite acute. He was hospitalized. He's got a medical condition as a result of him, hunger striking. What led him to take that action? Because that's quite a severe action, where you don't eat or drink or whatever form that hunger strike is. Tell us about that.
So we have to remember, Kamran was arrested in November 2024.
Yeah.
So he's been on remand for a year. Whilst being on remand, we have done a lot of legal arguments to try and get him out on bail, as we have done for all the Filth in 24. And we've been met with a lot of oppositions. It's very difficult because we can't talk about what happens in court because of contempt of court.
Yes.
But from my experience of being in court, there's injustice happening inside the court. And if you are the defendant that's bear witnessing to these injustices, it's going to propel you to want to do something.
Yeah.
Not only that, his co-defendants were being mistreated. We heard about Kessa Zahra being manhandled by officers, chucked into a cell. We heard about how the girls, they had their kepias taken in Bronzefield, which they used to pray with, and they were not given alternatives. He heard about how Umar was strip-searched for giving the azan. All these things made him aware that there's still injustice happening, even within the prison system. One thing in court, but within the prison system now, they are being targeted for their views on Palestine. And I think seeing that, and then also the fact that we know what's happening in Palestine has not been resolved. This ceasefire was just a facade. We are seeing the land being demolished. We're seeing Palestinians still being killed. And only the other day, young children are being shot at and being claimed as terrorists.
Yes.
And so if this is still going on, and your original reason why you're in prison is because of an alleged direct action related to Palestine, wouldn't that propel you to take extreme measures on yourself? Because what else has he got left? He's fought with his words. He's put statements out. He's fought with his lawyers. So this is the last thing, fighting with your body, because that's all he owns now.
Let's talk about Kamran. Give us a sense of, let's humanize Kamran, because we're talking about somebody who people will not know much about. Tell us about where he grew up and his life and what he does.
Kamran grew up in East London. He's actually, I call him an introvert, because he's growing up, he always used to be the kind of kid that would hide behind my mum's clothes. When guests would come over, he would be shy to come down. But then as he grew, he learned to overcome this introvertedness. So when he needed to, he would converse with people. Many people talk about the fact that he is someone that prefers small conversations with smaller groups of people,
Yes.
1 or 2 individuals. And that is shown by his childhood and how he was growing up. He was a mechanic, and honestly, he did the training, and he probably did more free work than he ever did paid work. The amount of times his friends would come to the house, or friend of a friend, or a sister that was in need. I remember one time a sister's car broke down. He went out to go and get it with his recovery truck. That was his personality. He found it hard to charge people more than the base minimum because he felt that it was being extortionate.
Yes.
And he never wanted to do that. And he was very principled by Islam. So he tried his best to follow in his deen. And to be honest, out of all our siblings, he is my inspiration as a Muslim. And I'm so proud of the person he's become. The amount of people that talk about how he's just a kind person, that they used to have soft conversations with. He was just caring. He would care about anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter who you were. And he's just funny as well. It's just he's a younger brother, so he gets away with cracking jokes. He's the only one that's able to make my mum laugh. me and my mom tend to have more serious conversations, but he's the one that will make fun of her, and then they'll have banter back. Same with my dad, who's so stern, but with my brother, he softens. But yeah, he's always been the one that takes care of all of us. He's the bridge, he's the glue in our family, and I think he's the glue for a lot of people, even within, I would say, within the Palestine movement. I think a lot of, he brings like a clarity and the way he thinks about things. But yeah, he's left a massive gaping hole, having not been here for a whole year.
Yes, you speak about him in very loving tones, you know, which I think many viewers will be able to understand and feel, because they've probably got siblings or cousins or whatever, you know, friends perhaps, who are very similar to Kamran. Was Kamran always political? Did he feel a strong sense of justice, or was this something more recent?
I think he had a strong sense of justice. I wouldn't say he was political.
Yes.
He did a lot of reading around. He was very much into history. So he read a lot about the Ottoman Empire, the Byzantine Empire. He read about Tsar's rule. So he loved history, and he would look at possibly like the politics playing out and seeing how there might be repetitions of history. Was he out there politically advocating for anything? No. Then the horrors of October 7th happened. And child after child, civilian after civilian, killed on the screen, and he couldn't look away. He felt like he needed to do something, because how could he keep coming home to seeing videos of body parts, parents mourning their children, children mourning their parents, young children, 3 years, 4 years old. And that's when he started attending marches.
And then he got into more direct action. Many of these, certainly those that support direct action, liken it to the suffragettes, who did some quite extreme acts for women's suffrage, you know, and now they are lauded. There's a suffragette line in London, you know. There's the statue of Emmeline Pankhurst, and obviously the movement is every year people wear pins, to mark the work that they did. So when he took direct action, was he almost hoping that that's how it would be viewed, whereas obviously now he's potentially labelled as a terrorist?
So firstly, I think the labelling of terrorism, we know that's politically motivated. Terrorism is terrorising the public, right? And we've seen terrorism. We've seen terrorism in the UK. And we've seen it play out on our newspapers before. This isn't terrorism. If anything, it's basically bringing into account that there is companies here that are directly complicit in the genocide, like Elbit Systems, and like any other company that associates itself with it. And that would be the same as when the government supports Elbit System or wants to award them contracts, despite them knowing that weapons are being made and being used in a genocide, which is against the Geneva Convention. We know this. I think he saw what the suffragettes did, and it's really interesting you bring up the suffragettes, because literally we were in Parliament the other day talking about the hunger strikers with MPs, and we went downstairs into their hall, and there was a statue of the suffragettes.
Yes.
And it's the irony of talking about these actionists and then having a suffragette model downstairs, but we don't live and abide by their values. The suffragettes fought. They fought to get women their rights, and a lot of their action was very severe. There was hunger strikes. There was, sadly, there was deaths. Yes. I remember the specific one about the horses. And so we know that these kind of actions, they were needed and actually necessary to push a government that was very stuck in its way,
yes,
and wanting to stay to the same narrative. And this is why the actions that we're seeing at the moment, from the smaller actions, from seeing graffitiing to red paint being sprayed up on buildings to breaking of drones, we have to ask ourselves, why are these things happening? Just like the suffragettes did it for the women's vote, this is happening because of UK's complicity, and the British people here do not want to be complicit in this genocide. We do not want to witness any more civilians being killed. We don't want to witness any more Palestinian blood being spilled. I will never forget the image of seeing the stream of blood or on an aerial view of Gaza. Why are we seeing stuff like this? And why are we tolerating it from a country that we can sanction? And we can actually also directly stop weapons going over there because they're being built here by an arms company that claims to be IDF's biggest contributor, and I think it funds over 80% of its weapons. Why does it exist on UK soil, and why do we stamp it and let it go over to Palestine to be used to murder children, women, men?
Indeed. The action to prescribe Palestine action is being challenged in court. Hearings, I suppose, are taking place over the last couple of weeks now. That issue will ultimately be decided either in court or perhaps even later on in Parliament, because there is a lot of misgivings. But in terms of Kamran and the others who are on hunger strike, what's the immediate danger to them? I mean, what do you think happens next if the government, for example, continues to oppose bail, doesn't improve prison conditions? Because ultimately, is that what you're asking for? Is the minimum just for them to have decent conditions in prison, and then for perhaps a bail application? What's the legal course that you're charting?
The hunger strikers, they're not striking for prison conditions. They have 5 very clear demands. One is to shut Elbit down. Like I explained, we know Elbit is directly supplying weapons in this genocide. The next is to end the censorship of their mails and books. They're being censored for their views on Palestine. Books are not going through, their kefirs are being taken, and all of this needs to end, because actually holding the political view of opposing a genocide, it should not be targeted. The third was immediate bail, because they've been on remand for more than 6 months. Usually custodial limits are 6 months. Here we have seen an application where they've been extended that, and for no clear reason, bail has been refused multiple times. Interestingly, Kamran was actually given bail. He was one of the few from Filton 24 that was granted bail.
Yes.
The CPS at the time appealed the bail, and then it got heard again in Royal Courts of Justice, but then it was declined. And so then we have to ask the question, how come one judge can see bail is acceptable and another judge cannot? And from being in the courtroom, I couldn't see a difference between both the days. From immediate bail, they've also asked for a right to a fair trial. The Filton 24, the first 6 are currently on trial. They're halfway through, and I would really advise people to read the article on Real Media, which is really showing how biased the media is and how biased this case is.
Yeah.
Recent evidence has been coming out about how CCTV footage was chopped up and changed to depict the Filton 24 in a particular light. And then other CCTV was kept aside. And then there was collusions with the officers that were supposed to be collating this CCTV together. That's alarming. We should be alarmed by that. We should be alarmed by the fact that our CPS and terrorism squad contact details were shared with an ambassador to the UK in Israel by our Attorney General very shortly after the first 6 got arrested.
Yes.
We should be alarmed that when my brother was remanded into prison, that same month, Keir Starmer's had a meeting with Elbit Systems.
See, these are facts that people don't know.
But you start seeing this pattern, right? And it's like, for me, I believed in the justice system. I believed in law and order. I've always been someone that sticks by the rules. But then actually, when you start seeing things dismantle like this, and you're like, it's taking away the integrity of our justice system and our integrity of our government.
Shahmina, tell me about whether you've contacted your local member of parliament. Have you had any help from any politicians? Start with your immediate your immediate MP. Has he or she helped?
So our immediate MP, Stephen Timms, he has been helpful to an extent. I always think there's more that people can do. But he has made active efforts to contact, at the time, Yvette Cooper when she was Home Secretary. He has written to David Lammy, who gave a shoddy response back eventually, and this was to do with Kams's remand and bail applications. And then he has tried to see Kamran, but he did it through a video link. And then most recently, what we've had is when Kamran was in hospital, we were denied all forms of communication with him. And when Stephen Timms heard about this, he got Kamran a letter which signed over, where he was able to sign it in prison, which allows himself, Stephen Timms, family members, and his solicitor to have access to Kamran's notes and his whereabouts and his health at any time. He did that because the prison was blocking us. The Ministry of Justice wasn't doing that. The only thing I would urge him to do is sign the early day motion at the moment for the hunger strikers. I think we just checked, there's 37 MPs that have signed that. It was when it was initially set up, it was only 6 MPs.
Yeah.
And in the last few days, we have 36 MPs now on it. So these include people like John McDonald, Zara Sultana, who also went to go and see Kessa yesterday. We've also had Jeremy Corbyn. We've had Kim Johnson. All advocates for supporting these hunger strikers, for immediate intervention by Parliament.
Shahmina, we've come to the end of our interview, and we will keep a watching brief on this, that's for sure. But in terms of what happens over this, we're in the Christmas period now, so, court system is going to close down. It seems to be a very, very delicate situation in terms of his health. There's various actions taking place. Those that are watching, what can they do? I mean, there'll be some who'll be really charged about this and want to make a change. What can they do?
My first thing is to say, we need you. These guys, they need you. Not just the hunger strikers, but the people that are on remand at the moment, facing injustice in prison and by the court system. And there's easy ways to do this. Write to your MP, get them to sign the early day motions for the hunger striker. Ask your MPs to ask the Ministry of Justice, David Lammy and Shabana Mahmood, to disclose all foreign and political interference in the case. Turn up to the demonstrations, because we need to show that there is numbers behind these hunger strikers and our prisoners for Palestine. Follow on Instagram, you can see what's happening, and spread the word, because if mainstream media is not doing it, we have to do it with our mouths. We will need to tell every single person we know, from the mothers in our nurseries to the barista at the cafe that you go to. You need to tell everyone about these hunger strikers, because everyone is shocked that this is happening in the UK.
Shahmina, thank you so much for coming here and speaking. It must be a very difficult time for you and the family. But we hope things improve significantly for Kamran and all the others as well. Let's not forget, there's a whole group of people. And I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but certainly we will continue to cover this, and our prayers and wishes are with all of them. Thank you so much for watching this quite moving story of Kamran and his sister coming into the studio and speaking in such sensitive terms about him. We'll be keeping a close watch on this, and I'll be back to you again for another In Conversation very soon. Thank you.